All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining our event. My name is Barbara Zhang. I'm the founder of Translators for Elders. Just a few housekeeping notes before we start today's session. Please mute your mic during the speech. We will have Q&A during the presentation and at the end. You can feel free to turn on your mic when you ask questions. The event will be recorded and video link will be available for those who cannot join us today, but want to watch it later. Simultaneous interpretation will be provided by second-year conference interpretation graduate students at Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey. Our guest speaker today is Asher Dahan. You all read already, maybe from the poster, about some of his career achievements. Here are a few more highlights maybe you didn't know yet. Asher worked with CIA and FBI agents on complex data recovery scenarios. He served in the Israeli Air Force for 4 years. He has a US patent for cybersecurity solution to protect against ransomware attacks, and so much more. I will let him share with us in details later. The topic of Asher's speech today is the Human Firewall. Without further ado, Asher, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Barbara, and so nice to see many of you guys on the screen here. So let's just imagine for a second a beautiful morning in Monterey. You get up, you get your cup of coffee, you walk into your laptop, and you open your screen, and instead of seeing your pretty background, it looks a little bit different this morning. You get a red screen with a message that tells you that you got hacked. Your data is already uploaded to a server somewhere in the world, North Korea, somewhere, and you cannot basically access any of your data files. Most people probably miss a heartbeat at that point, freaking out and don't really know what to do. You probably turn your computer off, turn it on, hoping everything would get back to normal. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen today. If they already got into your system and encrypted the files and uploaded the data, you're probably going to be facing a payment. It could be 1 Bitcoin. Some of you guys probably know Bitcoin is maybe 85,000 or more today, but it changes every single day. So most people would have a really hard time to come up with the money to be able to pay for that. So we're going to go today through a bunch of drills about what you can do, what are the risks, what are the hackers looking for, what's the low-hanging fruit, and to make it more difficult. I'm not going to say impossible because anyone can be hacked. It's just a matter of time and money. But if you make it difficult enough, there is a very good chance that they're going to look for a different target. So that's what we're up to today. All right, Barbara, we're going to get started in the slideshow. All right, just very basic. Oftentimes, even with great security, it ends up with the end user that is going to be the entry door to be able to get into trouble. So we're going to work today on the Human Firewall, which is basically each and every one of you, and what can you do to make it challenging for the hackers. Next. I think we can use the arrow, Barbara, the arrow left, right. All right. Just in general, because of many tools that are available today and the fact that everyone is connected into the internet, the number of online attacks on anyone, and it's really important that you would know that it's not just big companies or people that have a lot of money or anything like that. Every single person that is connected to the internet is a target. And if you're an easy target, they will get you. If you're a difficult one, there is a chance that they will just bypass. They will try a few things without even you knowing. And once they realize that you have sufficient protection on your account or your line or your computer, they will just jump into the next one. Awareness is really, really critical in this case. So we like people to be educated, even if it's not your profession, to be a security engineer or anything at this level. There are certain things that you must know just to protect yourself or your company or your school or anything that you're working with. Next slide. All right. So the presentation today is really more of a conversation with you guys. This is not going to be a lecture. I just want you guys to know. So when we cover anything, any topic, or even if you have a question, just raise your hand or basically let the moderator know that you have a question and we'll deal with it. And we'll do it actually through the presentation when it's live. We don't have to wait all the way to the end. I'll manage, and it's actually going to be more interesting. So public Wi-Fi, I mean, raise your hands. This is the hands that I can see. How many of you guys using public Wi-Fi? For example, Starbucks, right? Hotels, airports, probably everyone. Maybe we have one over there that didn't raise their hand. Maybe she's gonna be the super smart one. Do you guys think that there is any risk when using a public Wi-Fi? Anyone have any idea? Yes, no?
I think I have seen sometimes in public places when I start the Wi-Fi function, and there will be some notice from my phone saying that, oh, this internet is now secure or something. But like sometimes I still use it, but I don't know like exactly what the risks are. So yeah.
So I'll share with you guys a little story and you'll see how dangerous this can be. And it's actually all of it. So one of my clients who is a banker wanted to do a presentation for a bunch of large banks in Los Angeles. And I was warned in advance that when the banker is coming to a meeting, they're really more interested in the lunch and seeing their friends, and they could care less about what's being presented. So I was going to have a little bit of a problem with these people because I don't like to spend my time presenting when people care more about what's on their plate than anything else. So I set up a trap. They clearly did not have any idea what's going to happen, but I brought enough equipment. It was in a very fancy room, like in Malibu. And the trap was, although it sounds pretty simple, they clearly had no idea. A lot of you guys went to probably Starbucks in the past, and if you've done that, you would log into something that is called Google Starbucks. That's just the name of the public Wi-Fi that you normally would sign in. The trouble with that is that a lot of people would allow for that to happen automatically. Once you get into a Starbucks and said, okay, I trust this one, I can set up an entirely separate wireless unit that I would name Google Starbucks. It has nothing to do with Google Starbucks, but when you come close enough to that wireless device, you would be joining into my network. I'll be able to get access to your phone or your laptop, whatever you got with you, and start being able to take a look at information. A few more tools, but we're not going to go too crazy. Wireshark and a few other tools that allow us to literally in real time to communicate. And of course, you didn't have the knowledge that this is all happening simply because we faked the name of the public Wi-Fi from this Google Starbucks. Or if I wanted to do it in LAX, it would be named LAX Free. That would be the name of the Wi-Fi unit. And trust me, a lot of people would jump on it because they think free Wi-Fi, isn't that nice? I can watch my Netflix. You will, but you're actually connecting into a network of a hacker that while you are watching your Netflix or streaming, whatever you're doing, they potentially looking inside your device for anything, or in some cases, and that's even worse, they will install a small piece of software that is unknown to you, but it's like a Trojan horse. Once it got installed, they can see your keystrokes, they can control your laptop, they can do whatever they want to do. And all of it started from you joining willingly into a public Wi-Fi that you thought is safe, but in reality is not. So rule number one, don't use public Wi-Fi. I mean, because many of them could be totally fake and you don't know if this is really a unit was installed by the hotel and no one is really trying to hack you, or someone just created a fake one and they literally sitting 5 seats away from you at the airport and waiting for all the victims to sign in into this LAX free. It's really not LAX. It's their private unit. Second thing is the use of VPN. Any of you guys ever use VPN? Do you know what it is? Virtual private network? Yeah, so you can sign for it. I mean, some of the better ones cost a little bit of money, but the advantage is that if you are running your information through a VPN, it's being encrypted. So not every website that you sign into is going to be immediately visible with username and password. So if you're at the airport, let's just say you went to this public Wi-Fi, you signed in, and you want to check your Fidelity account, or you want to check your E-Trade account, you just want to see something. The moment you signed in with your credentials, they read it. They basically, at that point of time, just became aware of what's your username and what's your password. And 5 minutes later, when you signed off, they will be signing in on their computer. And I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe do some trades for small stock that they want to push up in price, sell your stocks, do whatever they feel like. So avoid public Wi-Fi. And if you have no choice, you definitely want to be on a VPN. Do not run it just because it's convenient. And use hotspots. So most of you guys probably have a hotspot built into your phone. I know you're going to be using your data because that's the way it works, but it's a private channel. You're not going to be allowing other people to jump into your devices. So public Wi-Fi is a huge risk. Think about it. If you ever saw like a server room that have a lot of wires and all of them go into a switch, in that server room, everyone is trusted, connected into that switch. Same thing on a public Wi-Fi. You're basically saying, I trust everyone around me who connected into that same network. And in reality, that's not a good trust because you have no idea who are the people around you. Why would you trust them in the first place? Okay, fake emails. How many of you guys getting PayPal emails that you just purchased a nice camera from Amazon or something that comes from Microsoft 365 that say, hey, we detected a security problem, please sign in so we can help you out with that. Anyone that's seen those messages coming their way to the mailbox? You had seen a few? All right, so majority of those, including even IRS, I mean, you can come up with it. I mean, we can make many of them. Your bank, almost all of them are really fake. They are, even if they include the logos and everything look like in a proper formatting, and they got so good that probably even the sender, which often we used to just put the mouse on and we can read if it's coming from the right place or not, they can spoof that one as well. So what looked like a perfectly good email and a warning that you have to check your account, the moment you click on it, it's going to go to a different website and it will wait for you to put in your username and password. It is not going to Microsoft and it is not going to PayPal and not going to Amazon. You're literally giving away your credentials, and I assure you, within minutes, something bad is going to happen. They're going to take money, they're going to make order on your accounts, something that you're going to regret going to happen. So if you ever believe that an email came and there is a reason that you believe that this is real, don't click on it. Go to your PayPal account just by signing to paypal.com. Sign in over there with your credentials, and if there is any waiting for you over there and you can check. Just avoid all of those fake emails. That's a very, very big trap. Social media risks. A lot of people like to travel, and when they travel, they like to post pictures from everywhere in the world that they are, and many of those are going public. If you guys have a home and you wonder why did someone break into your home while you were traveling, well, you just announce to the world that you are traveling somewhere, and for one way or another, they basically just notice that all of your pictures are coming from there, and that's a good reason to go and check your home. How did they get your address for the home? That's not that difficult. Every person today, probably their social security number, their home address, their work address, and everything else can be purchased for $5 in the dark web, anything and everything. So don't volunteer too much into social media. It may come to hunt you. Even employers these days are checking the social media of everyone because they're going to look for someone who is very extreme or someone they think is going to cause them trouble. And if you posted too much that is not to their liking, they're just going to tell you no when you want to get a job. So just be very cautious. What you're going to put outside on the web, it may come back to haunt you. Fake packages, that's an unfortunate one because some people do receive a lot of FedEx and UPS and everything else, and there's a lot low attachment, and to just like track the package or whatever that is. And in many instances, by clicking on it, you're actually allowing for a little piece of software to get downloaded to your machine, and that's the end of the story. Most of the time, if something got installed into your system, it's a keylogger or some piece of software that without your permission, the recording using your keystrokes, your camera, your microphone, used to basically come back and take money out of you or convince you that you have to pay, or they would release something that you're not going to be happy about. All right, next slide. All right, phone scams. Anyone receive any phone calls from all kind of like strange people that for some reason or another want you to say yes, such as asking you, is this Rui, for example, or someone else? No one received ever a call like that it just start with a question. All right, so the reason they do that, I mean, if you are answering that call with a yes, it's being recorded, and it's going to try to be played on some other voice verification that you might have to get through. For example, Fidelity, if you call them in, they have a system that verify your voice. And if they can play that voice and somehow stole already your username and password, they can get through number of verification, including your voice authentication, which would allow them to log into your account. So if someone calls in and asks you a funny question, I mean, don't answer yes. I mean, you can choose. You can say, who is this? You can say something else. Avoid the yes. They like that one. Not a good answer. AI-generated calls, that's a little bit tricky because if they got samples of your voice, it doesn't really take too much these days with tools like AI to literally start speaking just like if it was you. And then the question is who they're going to target that call at and what are they going to ask? And, you know, there have been already instances that, unfortunately, people got recorded, the call made into the grandparents, and it was almost like that person begging the grandparents to send money because they were kidnapped, or who knows what the story is. Pretty scary stuff. And I'm not saying that everyone is falling for that, but if they even make it 1 out of 50, and they got $10,000 or whatever the sum would be, it would happen. And you can imagine, any of you, if you have grandparents and they're scared to death about you, and you just tell them that you've been kidnapped, and if they're not going to send $10,000 like now, immediately, there would be some that would say, I'm just going to do it. They're not going to think twice. So those scams, unfortunately, working, and that's the reason that they will continue to do them or try even to improve, and even in the process collected some information about you so they can prove to the person that they really have you in their hands. Okay, next slide. All right, who's using Zelly? I mean, it's got to be a bunch of you, right? Do you know that if the money was stolen from your Zelle account, you are not going to get it back from the bank? Any of you guys know that? So Zelle is like a debit card, unlike credit card, which if someone stole your number and went to Best Buy and bought $3,000 equipment, and you got a bill and you call your credit card and say, I've never done it. It's not even in my city. Who are these people? The credit card will start an investigation. You will sign a form and you're going to get the money back in almost all cases. Not with a debit card. Debit card is an immediate transfer of the money to whomever that the transaction was going through. So Zelle or ATM or a debit card is instantaneous. If you say, I want to transfer money from point A to point B, the money is gone. And if you go to the bank and say, $1,000 that was just transferred, that wasn't me, they will start an investigation again, which probably would lead into your phone or your computer to show that you got hacked already. and the transaction was done by your device. And you would say, well, I've never done it. It's not my IP address. I didn't do it. It doesn't matter. You're going to lose the money. They've taken it already to court on large amount of money. And as long as the bank can prove that there was negligence on your side, meaning your computer was not fully protected or some other device was participating in the fraud and you didn't do a good job of protecting it, the money is gone. So be very, very careful with all of those Zelle, and be very careful with how many people you guys are sending money. There isn't really a great protection to that one. It's the same reason that in general, we recommend to people not to use debit cards. Use a credit card. It's a much safer environment, and the laws allowing to take the money back from the credit card, so you're not going to lose it, but not with the banks. So just awareness on that one. Be careful with all these Zelle transactions. Even if someone that you don't know attempt to send you Zelle money, a small amount, don't take it. I mean, if you don't know where it's coming from, it's probably the beginning of a fraud, and just avoid it altogether. They have probably a plan about how they're going to get into your account. So just avoid it. All right, next slide. I hope that none of you guys lost any money yet. I hope. All right, this is a really fun one. Not the second one, the third one. USB devices and all those little charges for Apple, the cables, the charges. So let's start with the USBs. We've done a presentation in a nice hotel, and it was a security presentation. And we really wanted to know, for all this supposed to be really technical people, how many of them would fall for it. So we bought 5 different USB, little beautiful silver shiny devices, and randomly in different places of the hotel, we threw them on the carpet to be found. They were all loaded with some nice pictures of dogs and cats and whatever. But unknown to them, there was also a piece of software that is not detected that will infect anyone who took that device and plugged it into the computer. Guess how many of those 5s were found and got connected before the presentation even started? Anyone want to guess? No guesses. Okay, Mintig want to say something. What do you think? How many out of the 5?
Like 4.
Okay, close enough. All of them. Every single one of those was actually, and we know that they got connected because the software was calling back to us to tell us that it got connected. But what these people didn't know, and many of them working for large companies, is that by connecting that silly device, they got a Trojan horse installed into the laptop. And if we really wanted to be malicious and they've gone back into their offices, they will infect the entire network. And where did it all start from? From this really pretty USB device that they could not stop out of curiosity to see what files are loaded on that device. So don't take them. And honestly, even if someone just hands you a USB device and said there's some files on it, you better have something to test the device, that it doesn't have any viruses or anything, or you just basically got infected the moment that you plugged it in. So watch for those. The reason we mentioned the cables and the little Apple chargers, those nice little square Apple chargers and the Apple cables, all of them actually, there are many of them in the market right now that got modified unknown to you, and they have inside that little block of the charger a small transceiver or something that can actually send information to the outside. And if you connect your phone, or if you connect, maybe if it was even for your Apple MacBook or anything like that, it will talk into the information inside, into the hard drive, into the data, and start sending data out, because the supposed to be cable, supposed to be charger, has additional electronics built in that are without your knowledge. They're doing a lot of other things. So buy your stuff from authorized places. Don't just buy it from a vendor on the street, because honestly, I have no idea what you plugged yourself into. Yeah. And when you go to the airport, just bring your own charger and your own cable. Don't just stick it into any open USB, because even those got modified over time, and people didn't know. So just be cautious where you plug in your equipment. The webcam, well, don't put webcams in any bedroom. I'll tell you that flat. If that webcam is connected to the internet, it will be hacked, and you just don't want that webcam to potentially have someone looking over the webcam at what's going on. Just be cautious where you plug in them. And mobile apps, download only what you really trust that coming from a known vendor. If you guys like to play and download anything that just look cute, there's a very good chance that either on the Apple Store or the Google Store, that little cat app that looks so funny and cute is actually including something like an infection. And you wouldn't know. That's the sad part. You don't know until something really bad happened and a forensic would look and would say this was the problem. So just be cautious about what you're downloading. This could be also for a computer. Just download from apps that you really trust. Next. All right, we talked about the public Wi-Fi dangers. So just minimize to as little as you can the use of them. And if you really have to, fire up a VPN. Mac viruses. I have a feeling that a bunch of you guys using a Mac, right? Or at least some of you using a Mac. PCs for most part. It's either one or the other, or using Chromebooks. I don't know. Maybe that's an option too. No one has a Mac of all of you. Okay, one Mac. All right, Barbara got a Mac. All right. So somehow people think that Macs don't get infected, but that's not true. I mean, that was some sort of a story that was told by the wonderful people at Apple. There are less viruses for Mac, but Mac will get infected as well. And in fact, Mac users usually have more money than PC users. That's just a fact. I know. The same thing with the iPhone. iPhone users have more money than people that use an Android. So when they get to someone that has a Mac account, to an Apple ID or anything like that, they like it quite a bit because there's probably more money sitting behind that account. There are more bigger target in general. Dating scams, that's a really bad one. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys had heard about it. I mean, Netflix made a movie about it, but even beyond that, the most common ones is that wonderful person, he or she, that would, through dating apps, would literally invest time in building a relationship with the person on the other side. They're often not in the same country. They would be somewhere else, in Europe, in somewhere else that look attractive. And as the relationship builds up, there would be at some point a story about how he or she investing in Bitcoins and they're really good about making money. And they might even tell you to send them a small amount, which they will prove to you that they made you a lot of money off, but that's only the beginning, only when you give them $100, which was a mistake already. But the moment that you build some trust, the punchline is going to come when they're actually going to ask for $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever the number that they feel comfortable asking you for. And once that money transferred, you'll never hear from them again. So anything that has to do with money or crypto or anything like that, if you're dealing or hearing from anyone like that in a dating, run. That's all I can tell you. I mean, 99.99 is going to take your money. There might be one exception to it, but the majority of them are interested in your money and nothing else. So be very careful on all kind of scams on the dating area. All right, next slide.
I just want to quickly share that I think in China, there's another version of dating scam. It's not selling Bitcoin, but it's selling tea. And so a girl would pretend that their grandpa are planting the green tea on the mountain and they cannot sell it. And they want the person they're dating with to buy that green tea. And that's a very common scenario as well.
I've never heard about that one yet, but I guess people can be very creative, whatever the story is. And some people think that the hackers are kind of like dumb and stupid, but it's really not the case. A lot of them are very creative and smart, and unfortunately, they use technical expertise in a really bad way. most likely making a lot more money than if they worked legally for a real company with their skills. And we're hoping that many of them eventually make a mistake and getting caught sooner or later. And a lot of them are, but there's just too many of them, unfortunately. So IRS calls are a little bit scary. They're more targeted to older people because those people can be shaken very quickly. And when an IRS agent is on the line, is telling you they're going to take you home and they're closing all of your accounts and this and that, before you know it, some of those elderly would believe the story and will do something that that person would ask them to do. There was a lady in England that lost almost $3 million when she was told that someone is going after her bank account and the only way to save it is to move it safely to an IRS account that those bad guys cannot touch. And once she moved that money to that special IRS account, that was it. There was no way to reach that person anymore, and the money was all gone. So, and not only that, because they pulled the money out of their retirement account of that lady, she had to pay taxes on that. The real IRS came and say, you owe us money on pulling $3 million out of the retirement account. It wasn't even her. So be really aware. IRS normally does not make calls like that. This is all fake. The pop-up, those are very, very common, and sadly, it shouldn't really happen, but you can go to a legit website and there are, oftentimes on the right-hand side, there's a bunch of like marketing, advertising stuff. The bad guys are so good that they will buy ad space and they can actually pop out of that screen something that would say, it's from Norton and we just detected that you have a virus on your machine. Just click here for tech support and we'll help you. It is not Norton. It is not tech support from Norton. And if you made that call, there would be someone who speaks perfect English. And the number that you dialed is an 800 number. Of course, they bought that as well. And he would nicely tell you that all you need to do is just to install a little remote support tool to solve the problem. Once he got that, it's over. Once you gave them that little access to do remote support to the machine, instantaneously, they will download anything that they want and take over your machine, very likely change your password in a split second, and before you even know it, they demand money and they got control of the machine. That's a really bad situation. By the way, in all of those cases, probably the best thing that you can do if you already fell into a trap, immediately disconnect the call and turn off the computer. Hopefully, they didn't go far enough, but at least you'll be able to minimize the damage at that point of time. If you're already in the middle and you suspect this is not right, this person on the phone is really doing something to my computer, I don't even know what they're doing. Just get rid of them as soon as you can. Next. All right, few things that we can do now that we heard about a lot of bad stuff. Anyone knows about those free credit reporting agencies? Did anyone hear about them, ever dealt with them? Do you know what they are? Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Okay, so all of you guys have a credit score. You're old enough to have credit cards, and you've probably have some history of what you bought. Are you paying on time or anything like that? So you have a score. That's how, if you wanted to buy a car and you need to sign a loan papers, they will immediately run your credit score, and hopefully your credit score is 800 or something like that, which would be great, and not a low number, which immediately will make everything expensive for you just based on that rating. That number is really critical. So the trouble is when identity theft happens, which is not that difficult to do these days because all the information is out there, all of them need to go to one of those free credit agencies to write up a new loan. Why would they want to do that? They're just buying a house under your name, or they just went to a dealership and tried to buy a car. But if your credit reporting agencies are all locked up, and you can actually call each one of them or over the web request and lock them up. No one can open a credit card on your name. No one can buy a car in your name. No one can buy a house or mortgage or anything. You basically locked up the system. Why is it so good? Because even yourself, if you go to you go to Macy's and they say, oh, we got this deal. Just sign up for the new Macy's card and we'll give you a discount of 20%. If you have that locked up, they will not be able to create the new card. So it's not only stopping the bad guys, no one can do it, period. And when you do need to do it, let's just say you really need to buy a car. For a short time, for 24 hours, you will open the required one. You would let them run the credit check that they want, and they will be successful. And when they're done, you close the door up. So this is like a magic key that you want to keep all the time closed, and only when you are facing either a need for a new credit card, maybe a student loan that they need to check you out, maybe you're applying for a mortgage or anything like that. And in all of those instances, you will go through one of those three, or if not more than one, you will open them up. Do it. This is the only way you can really avoid someone not only stealing your identity, but now acting up as you and buying like crazy whatever they want to buy. And it's all going to come to hunt you. All of those vendors that lost their money to the fake person going to come to you. And it's a huge headache and cleanup. So taking that step, I think, is one of the most critical that all of you guys should do. Credit Karma is an interesting website. There's nothing wrong with it. They actually will give you reporting all the time, as many times as you want, about what's your credit score. And they would also tell you if someone charged something on one of your credit cards that is unusual, so you will get some warning. It's a good feedback, kind of like to keep you ahead of the game before something terrible happen. IRS IP PIN. Any one of you file tax returns? Some? Yes? Okay. Do you know what an IRS IP PIN is? Does that even sound like anything? All right. This is really, really important. So here we are talking to a person that knows so much about security. And I'll tell you that a year ago, someone, before I filed my normal tax return, went to the IRS, filed a tax return, a paper tax return with my information, asked them to send a credit of $12,000 into not my address, their address. The IRS was fooled entirely, send the money out. And when my CPA tried to file the tax return, the IRS said, you already filed it. Why are you sending another return? I was like, what do you mean? And we're like, send us a copy of whatever we filed. And we look at the copy, completely fake. There was no way to avoid it because they basically beat us on the filing, which gave, and the IRS didn't recognize that this was a spoof. The only thing that could have saved us in that case, and of course now I have one of those, is this IRS IP PIN. Think about it this way. Every single year, the IRS will issue to you, I think it's a 6-digit code that is unique and is changing every year. And if someone would try to file a return in your name, they will immediately say, what's the code? And if that bad guy who has no idea what's the code that the IRS gave you and only you, say, I don't have the code, there would be no filing. Nothing would happen. I strongly suggest, because this is a problem that's happening more and more and more, and even worse, because the money is now gone, the IRS want me to pay back the money that they sent until they'll finish the investigation. And how long the investigation will take? 2.5 years. So you're basically out of your money that you didn't do anything wrong for 2.5 years until the IRS investigate and verify or catch whoever did it. And until then, you're out of money. So save yourself that trouble. I mean, it's not that hard. Just look it up on the web, IRS IP PIN. Everyone can ask for that. And once you have that number, you added another layer of security, and you will not have to spend hours on the phone with the IRS explaining to them, this was not me, this was someone else, which they know, but they still have to prove. Okay, banking alerts is also a good thing. It doesn't matter what bank you are with, you can set up alerts to a certain dollar amount. So for example, anything over $250 taken out of your account in one way or another, or you pick your number, 500. You'll get a text or an email from your bank saying, this amount of money was just removed from the account. Do you approve it? Yes, no. If you catch it fast enough and you say, no, that's not me, the bank will kill the transaction. When is that helpful? I mean, even in the case of Zelle, let's say with Bank of America, if someone managed to get your account and they're trying to transfer money, if you got the alert and you're quick enough saying, that's not me, they would break that transaction and will not move the money. So You can decide what alerts you want, but normally it's a certain dollar amount that would be taken out of your account. With, so you're not going to get too many alerts. So you can maybe set it up to $500 or whatever you think. That's a big number enough. I do want to know when it happens. Next. All right. Any of you guys save their passwords in a browser? For real? Okay, I see a few, right? Do you guys know why it's bad? Anyone have any idea why this is a bad thing? Any clue? It's convenient, I would agree on that, but why is it bad?
I think if someone stole your Google account, then they can access all of the password.
Yes, if they got access to your account or to your computer, let's just say it's a computer, in Chrome or many of the other browsers, if you go to password and security and you say reveal passwords, it will open up every single password to every single thing you ever signed in for. If it is Amazon, PayPal, your bank, your brokerage account, they're all going to come up. So just imagine the nightmare that you're going to be facing if someone open up that page and copy paste all of your passwords. Literally, within an hour, they would log into everything that you have and do what they think they need to do. Transfer money out, make big purchases. I guess it depends on what they got into. If it's Amazon, maybe they'll buy stuff and send it to some address. I don't know. So not the best idea. Equally as bad, I don't think too many people do it anymore. People used to walk around with like a little notebook in their purse or something. And in that notebook, they listed all of their passwords. God forbid that that purse was lost or stolen. Now that wonderful black book with all of their passwords is out in the open. So not good either. So you do want to have like a password manager, and the password managers, there's a bunch of them. You can use them on all of your devices. So you can use them on your phone, on your computer, and they will create super complicated passwords for you, which makes it very difficult to break. And of course, you gotta protect that master password. Don't lose that one. I will say that there were some cases in the past that even those companies got hacked, and you can see the reason why. Everyone wants to go to the Goalkeeper, which is the password managers, but they never really got to steal the accounts and the password, but enough for all the users of that company to get a warning with changing all of your passwords. There was some security problem. But it got as far as that. Two-factor authentication. Anyone using it? I hope. 2FA, MFA, two-factor authentication. They give it a bunch of names by now. Minting, what do you do with it? Why is it good?
I think it's like when you're logging to a website and you install these authentication app on your phone, and they show an instant number that's gonna expire in 30 seconds. So you can only enter that like 6-digit number in 30 seconds. If not, then you cannot log in. So that's pretty safe.
So the reason they even call it two-factor authentication, it's another layer beyond username and password. In security, the combination of username and password is too weak because almost everyone username is email. Okay, we already know your email. No big deal. So the only thing left is password. And if you password used 6 character, 7 character, that's about 30 seconds or less to break. It's instantaneous. So the advantage of the two-factor authentication on anything, banking, money, important data, or anything like that, you probably holding a phone in your hand, and that phone would receive the unique code. So if the hacker was, for example, in Europe, and they already got your username and password into the bank account, and they logged in, the next screen that comes up is saying, we just send you a code. What's the code? Now they have a problem. And the problem is that you have the phone, you got the code, he's in Europe, and that's where another layer of social engineering starts, and that's something that you guys should be aware. That's where the call from the bank, and it's not the bank, it's the hacker, is calling you and say, we detected some security problem, and we sent to your phone a 6-digit code. Can you please read it to me? Don't ever, ever, ever give that code. Because if you give the code, you just gave away the two-factor authentication. and now the money is really going to be gone. So banks will never tell you something like that. And definitely when you didn't initiate the call came from the outside and some person describing themselves as helping you with the security. Red alert, really bad one, disconnect immediately. And if they called from a bank, call the number on your statement to the bank and say, I just received the call. Is this real or not? And should I be aware? Or maybe you need to immediately change your password with that bank because they are very likely already know what that is. So that's your chance to change the password to something better. Anything that you can use two-factor authentication would be great. Because it would just, again, make life quite difficult for the bad guys. Strong passwords, if you use the password manager, you are going to use strong password. I hope that none of you using the names of the cats and the dogs and password 123 and all kind of like wonderful password that take less than 2 seconds to break. So none of that, definitely none of that. Next.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes, Lucy.
So, not long ago, I received a Gmail, email saying that my ex, the Twitter account, was logged in Turkey, and because I've never been to Turkey, so I feel like it was this account was stolen by someone. So what I did is because I felt like I even don't remember what email I used to register X. So I just changed my Google password and I denied on I replied with I didn't that was not me.
Yes.
So I think I guess my ex account, the Twitter account, was safe, and I didn't really care because I don't use that. But I was afraid that my Google account will be affected because I mostly log in with my Google email, to a lot of different platforms. So I just changed my Google password. I don't know if that's a good way to do it or there's other approaches that I can avoid this kind of stuff.
The Gmail account for a lot of people is very critical because the Gmail account and resetting other passwords normally done on the Gmail platform. So let's say if you signed in even, I don't know, for a magazine or you signed in to to Amazon or PayPal, they normally would ask you what is your secondary email or something that we can reset. So if you go to PayPal and you click on the link, I forgot my password, guess where that email goes? It goes to that Gmail account, which you gave them before. If the bad guys got access to your Gmail, they just received the request to reset the password. They click on the link and they just make a password of their own. They just locked you out of your PayPal or Amazon or whatever. And they'll just go one by one and do reset password, wait for the link, click on the link, change your password, and now they control your PayPal, your Amazon, and anything else. And of course, they didn't do it just for fun. They're now going to go shopping. So they are going to use it for money transaction of one thing or another. Gmail does allow you to use two-factor authentication as well. Use it. So that would be a good thing. And yes, the urgency that you use to quickly change the password is really, really important on your Gmail account. Just even if you worry that maybe they got into my account, it's a good thing that you very quickly modify the password to something new. Some people out of habit, every 6 months, I know it sounds like a lot, they will just go and clean up their passwords. They will just change them just to make sure that it's not. And please don't change the password from Lucy1 into Lucy2 into Lucy3. That is useless. I mean, totally. Sometimes people, again, for convenience, they make it simple and they through multiple accounts they just throw a different number at the end and they think this is really good, safe. It's not. And
I used to do that. I changed, for example, 2024 to 2025.
I know. I can imagine. I've seen it enough times. So it's convenient, but it's very costly because the hackers very quickly with software. It's not like they have to be super smart. That's how it's done with tools. So yeah. So whatever your main email account is, guard it with your life. because oftentimes all the resets of all of the other accounts are going to be done through that one email. And it can go into your simple accounts, but even your social media accounts, which sometimes people really care about, their Facebook, their whatever it is, which is a lot of this and a lot of that. You gotta be careful that that is not falling into the wrong hands, because they will abuse the account. They might even start uploading in your name certain content that you're gonna die when you see what they've just done.
So if
So
I don't receive more like email confirming if I'm logging into this device or that, that means I'm safe, right?
right, and just protect again the main account with as many layers as you can, including that two-factor authentication. The reason you got even that IP from Turkey, I mean, they could have hacked into a computer that resides in Turkey and try to log in, and that's why it says you're in Turkey. I mean, the software doesn't know if it's a physical person or a remote computer running out of a Turkey IP address, and it just say, you're coming from Turkey right now. It's like, no, I'm not. But that's just how it's done. Some of you maybe have, maybe not, but if you have like external devices at home that you're using to store all your music and all your pictures, and those devices are connected to the internet, and some people think it's really cool that you can stream your movies out of that hard drive that is connected at home or at a small office to the web. Those are dangerous, because anything that talks to the web, those NAS devices, they call network attached storage. Western Digital makes them, Seagate makes them, there's a bunch of them. You can store a lot of data on them, including pictures and music and files and everything like that. And they made it convenient that you can access that data even when you're not at home. But just like anything else, once you provide web access to a device, it's an opportunity for the bad guys to break in. So be extremely careful with those, to update all the time the firmware and everything else that goes with it to avoid it. If you guys ever getting rid of an old PC or Mac, the one piece you really have to destroy before you give it away is that hard drive inside. Literally pull that hard drive out. I don't know, use a hammer, use whatever you got. Destroy it. Do not give it away. Even if you think I wiped it, it should be all clean. Very likely the data is still there. We just need to use few tools, and anything that you had on that drive is going to come back. Your files, your pictures, your financials. So do not give the drives away. Literally destroy them physically. That would be a safety, that no one can recover the data out of it. Okay, next.
I'm sorry, I wasn't a bit, I didn't very understand about the, you said at home, we can't use any device connected to the Wi-Fi?
No, so with regard to the storage devices, if you had one of those, you basically would have the device, some of them have network jack or even a Wi-Fi connection, or that storage device, which some people load all of their pictures and all of their movies, and maybe even some data files that they decided, I'll put it as a backup on that external storage device. If it is connected into the internet, it can be hacked. That's
Even
about
like home Wi-Fi.
it's a storage device, so it's not just a router that you're getting at home. It's literally a physical device that have hard drives inside and contain data. Not too many people, probably home users, would have it. This is more common in a small office or number of people with large enough amount of data that they store it on another device for backup, most of the time for backup. All right, we talked about VPN. We're not verifying emails from the bank. If there's a problem with the bank, go to the bank or call the bank or log into the bank. Just don't use the link that came on the email, because that's not going to the bank. It's going somewhere else. Remote tech support. If you initiated the call to a company and you trust the company and you got a tech that tells you, I'm going to help you, I need remote access, fine. Assuming you know who you called and everything is trusted. On the other hand, if you got a call from the outside, from Microsoft or Google or Apple, or I don't care who, and they tell you that they want to help you and they need remote support to your computer, disconnect the call. It never happens. There's no way. They're not sitting there making free phone calls to help people. This is fraud. So just be careful anytime that there's this remote tech support call for whatever the reason is. And most of the time, it might start from a fraudulent pop-up that came on your screen that you actually called up the 800 or 888 number because you believe that someone is there going to help you with this pop-up. It's not. It's fake. It's all fake. Just ignore them, literally. Next. All right. Apps. Minimize how many you have. If you don't need the certain app, you just download it once or twice for fun. You don't need it anymore, remove it. Every single app could be the back door to the problem. Less is more. Nothing to it. SIM swapping. Anyone ever heard this term? Do you know what that is? SIM swapping? All right, so that's a really tough one, and it's more sophisticated, but it creates a huge problem for us in the security. So we talked about two-factor authentication, where you get the code into the phone, right? So what did the bad guys figure out? They get people inside Verizon or AT&T that work with them, and they will go to an Apple store, and they'll say, we just bought a new Apple phone, and we need to transfer from this phone into that phone. And the person at Verizon or AT&T will maybe ask few questions, not too many. And if they believe that you are who you are, they're now transferring your number into a new phone. And what would happen at that point, the phone that you, the real person holding, it would just go quiet. You're not going to get messages. You're not going to get calls. But everything getting transferred into the other phone with the other SIM card that this other person, the hacker, got. Now, what does he do? You already probably have your username and password, so you go quickly to a Bank of America and say, I'm Min Ting, I'm trying to log in. They say, we'll send you a code. Who do you think gets the code? Not you. He got it because they just transferred the SIM card into his phone. And it's not a physical move. They literally just electronically changing between the phone. So you got to be very, very protective about your cell phone number. Don't give it away to anyone and everyone. Definitely avoid anyone stealing your phone, even for a few minutes. They might be doing something to your phone without your knowledge. So just be very, very careful about it, because that's the SIM swapping. It's complex, but when they do it, there's a lot of damage that can happen as a result of it. And set a mobile carrier code. If you call AT&T or Verizon and tell them that you want to add another password to your account, they would let you do that. It could be a word that you know, and they will record whatever that is. So when that call would come from AT&T, they will be required to ask the person, what's your secret word? I hope that that person would say, I don't know, I don't remember. They'll say, okay, we're not transferring. So that would be one more step to help the carriers to avoid between real and fake people calling them up. So something that you should consider. I have it. It's a good thing, because if anyone called my Verizon line and say, we just got an Apple, want to do the transfer, they would say, beyond few basic questions, they would say, what's the secret word? And if they're not going to give it, they would stop the process. They would say, we're not doing it. Go figure it out. All right, next one. Who asked about AI? Because that was a really good question, about the risks and benefits. Was it one of the people here on the screen? Someone sent that via email or something. The question was, what are the risks and benefits? Was it Chloe? No. Someone else? Okay. So the question that came up was, what are the risks and benefits with all the AI tools that we have right now? So I listed a few of them. So both the good guys and the bad guys are basically using AI tools right now. It's like a little war always between the good guys and the bad guys. The bad guys using AI to create, they're using the software. They can use ChatGPT or DeepSeek would be a little bit better for them because it has less guardrails. And they would actually tell it to write a virus, and they would even define what they want the virus to do. And without them knowing too much about coding, there would be a brand new virus that no one ever saw before. Just like that. You can imagine the headache that all the good guys getting when who knows how many new viruses are coming up every single day and they need to be detected. So the good guys using AI to detect even stuff that they have never seen before. and catch it. So it's an ongoing battle between the good and the bad to get ahead of the game. There are more bad guys than good guys. So I hate to say that they have an advantage of manpower. There are definitely a lot more bad guys, including armies in certain countries that are hiding infected apps and viruses and anything that they can do to be able to break in and steal stuff. I mean, some of you guys maybe heard about the recent, I think it was $1.4 billion in crypto that was stolen directly from the exchange. So like you would think the exchange would have all the security in the world, and they stole from them $1.4 billion in crypto, which probably not coming back. That money is gone. So just to give you a clue of how expensive and how smart this whole thing is. Data poisoning, that's a tough one because they're basically feeding up the web, whatever we building all the models on, when the models are built on stuff that was already published on the web and everything like that. They're putting on purpose bad data out there with the hope that that bad data would come back into what ChatGPT or something else would reply. Social engineering, boy, this stuff is so good. They can make any of you probably speak, look, talk, walk, whatever they want with a short video and few pictures of the person and some voice recording. And it would literally on a short video look like you would not know, or your parents would not know if it's you or if it's the fake one. It's that good. So challenging. That's all I can say on this one. Next. All right, updates. A bunch of you guys said that you have PCs, right? Once a month, Microsoft release on what they call second Tuesday of the month updates. Those are security updates. They are very, very important to get installed into your machine. Don't ignore them, even if they require a restart of the computer at the end. And they may take 20 minutes to install, or whatever it would be. Every single time that they release them, it's a bunch of patches to security problems that were released or found in the last 30 days. If you ignore them, that same browser that you're using, go into a particular website. If you were patched, you will get maybe a message that this website is infected and you can't really go there. If you are not, it will open it up. You will get something downloaded to the machine and you're in a very big trouble. So updates to your phone, updates to your computer, updates to anything that tells you that there is an update, just do it. It could be even to your smart TV. Even those things get updated from time to time. Do them all. Each and every one of those devices is an entryway to try and break in. So close the doors. Security software, there are many of them. There is anything from Sentinel-1 to CrowdStrike to many other really good quality ones that can help you out. I do recommend that anyone for sure on a PC would have at least one program that in real time looking for viruses. I suggest a paid subscription. All of those free ones are really not that good. So if you really care about good quality antivirus program, get one that you actually pay on a yearly basis for the subscription. Education is important because even with all the software in the world and good hardware, firewall protection and everything else, at the end of the day, it's going to be each and every one of you. If you click on the wrong email, you got a problem. If you went to the wrong website, you got a problem. If you picked up the USB and stuck it to your computer, you got a problem. So the more user education that you have about what is right and what is wrong, that would be another layer of safety to protect yourself or your office or other people around you. Someone did ask a question, which was also a good one, about how to deal with small businesses that oftentimes would not reject, but they would say, well, security, that's kind of like too expensive and not for us. And why would anyone come after us? Is it someone in the room right now that asked that question? No? Wow, someone asked a lot of good questions and didn't show up. All right, bottom line, that's a challenge when businesses think that security is an expense and they don't really think that it's necessary to spend money on it. If it is a small company, if it is a school, or whatever it is. But in order for them to really understand the risk, beyond the fact that any director of that company is responsible for any security or loss of data of their clients, that's just the laws in the United States. If they can see the financial cost of the cleanup and everything that would go after they got hacked, or maybe even shut down the company, the billing is gone, the customer database is out, their clients are being reached out by the hacker for ransom, and on and on and on. Whatever it would have cost for them to properly protect themselves is going to be like literally a drop in the bucket compared to how do we recover from this bad thing that happened. And it takes some conversations with business owners, but that's what it takes. I mean, small companies sometimes are on a tight budget and they're trying to save every dollar. But in the security game, unfortunately, sometimes when they try to save too much, they expose themselves, and then there's a problem. So it's a dialogue, and not everyone doing everything, but even if they've done 50% of what need to be done, they're in a much better shape than doing the absolute nothing. Next. All right, be cautious, skeptical, and proactive. I mean, I want all of you guys to basically do it when it comes to security. And it's an ongoing effort. That's something that a lot of people, especially businesses, don't understand. So if they spend $10,000 on security, they think, so we're done, right? For the next 3 years, we don't need to spend any money. No, that's not the case. Next year, there's probably going to be a few more ways to be able to break in. And they might not need to spend, again, $10,000, but they may need to spend $1,000 to update into the latest one, and that will save them again. So it never really stops. The bad guys constantly looking for ways, the good guys constantly blocking. So it's a back and forth, and it's an ongoing forever situation. Next one. All right, we managed to come to the final. Yeah. Anyone has a question that maybe we didn't cover, or you might have something in mind that was related to anything I talked about? No questions.
Well, feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions. You don't need to raise your hand.
Yeah. So if there's few things that I want all of you guys to do, 100%, get to the IRS and get an IP PIN. Doesn't take much time. Half an hour, you'll be done with it. Get two-factor authentication on every single account that has money or something important. Just do it, 100%. That's really, really going to save you. And be careful on public Wi-Fi. Just be cautious what you're willing to connect, just now that you know that someone can break into it. So and if you don't trust it, just spend a little bit more money on your data plan on the hotspot. And hopefully all of that would save you from trouble. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Asher.
Thank you all. Stay safe. And Barbara, thank you for inviting me for this presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Asher. I just want to thank Miss for providing the platform for this event. And also, I'd like to thank our interpreters. Last but not least, the Translators for Elders team at Middlebury Institute of International Studies, who produced and promoted this fantastic event.